kunja vihari. Gopi jana balava girivara. Gopi jana balava girivara. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Randana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Randana. Yamuna Tira Vanacha. Yamuna Tira Vanacha. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava. Gopi Jana Balava Girivardhana. Gopi Jana Balava Girivardhana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Randana. Yamuna Tira Vanacha. Yamuna Tira Vanacha. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Jaya Radha Madhava Very good kartal. Don't find so often anymore. Mostly they clunk it. Okay, chapter 2, Bhagavad Gita, text number 12. Very important verse. I say that for every verse. This is quite often quoted though by Prabhupada. Nat tvavaham jatu nasam Nat tvam neme janadipa Nachaiva na bhavishyami Sarve vayam ataparam Nat tvavaham jatu nasam Natvam neme janadipa Nachaiva na bhavishyama Sarve vayam ataparam Natvaham jatunasam Natvam neme janadipa na chaiva na bhavishyami, sarve vayam ataparam. So everybody is expert at it. Natvevaham jatunasam, natvam neme janadipa, nachaiva na bhavishyama, sarve vayam ataparam. Natvevaham jatunasam, natvam neme janadipa, natvevaham bhavishyama, sarve vayam ataparam. Natvevaham jatunasam, natvam neme janadipa, nachaiva na bhavishyama, sarve vayam ataparam. Natvevaham jatunasam, natvam neme janadipa, nachaiva na bhavishyama, sarve vayam ataparam. Very good. Okay. Na, never. Tu, but. Eva, certainly. Aham, I. Jatu, at any time. Na, did not. Asam, exist. Na, not. Tvam, you. Na, not. Ime, all these. Janadipa, kings. Na, never. Cha, also. Eva, certainly. Na, not. Bhavishyama, shall exist. Sarvivayam, all of us. Atakparam, hereafter. Never was a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. In the Vedas, in the Katha Upanishad, as well as in the Svetashvatara Upanishad, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the maintainer of innumerable living entities in terms of their different situations, according to individual work and reaction of work. That Supreme Personality of Godhead is also, by His plenary portions, alive in the heart of every living entity. Only saintly persons who can see within and without the same Supreme Lord can actually attain to perfect and eternal peace. Nicho Nichanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam, Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kaman, Tam Atmastam Ye Nupashyanti Tira, Tesham Shantim Shasvati Netaresham. That's the Upanishad verse. The same Vedic truth given to Arjuna is given to all persons in the world who pose themselves as very learned, but factually have but a poor fund of knowledge. The Lord says clearly that He Himself, Arjuna, and all the kings who are assembled on the battlefield are eternally individual beings, and that the Lord is certainly, eternally, the maintainer of the individual living entities, both in their conditioned and liberated situations. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme individual person, and Arjuna, the Lord's eternal associate, and all the kings assembled there are individual eternal persons. It is not that they did not exist as individuals in the past. And it is not that they will not remain eternal persons. The individuality existed in the past, and their individuality will continue in the future without interruption. Therefore, there is no cause for lamentation for anyone. It's quite a long purport. There's a nice story about this verse. When Srila Prabhupada was staying at Dr. Mishra's house, Dr. Mishra would have programs, and he was a Mayavadi, very Mayavadi, philosophically. Prabhupada was friendly with him, they were friends, but philosophically they didn't agree. And so Prabhupada would attend those programs, and everybody liked his chanting. Then one time the doctor asked Prabhupada to speak. So Prabhupada spoke on this verse, and you can find it. It's in the recordings of Prabhupada. And he was speaking so strongly, against Mayavadi and how everyone's an eternal soul and they're always individuals and it never merges, and, very, very heavy. So after that, Dr. Mishra said, Swamiji, I don't think there's any need for you to speak. You can just sing. So that's what Prabhupada was up against in the beginning of his preaching in America. So he continued to come and he would chant, and some of them would become interested and come to visit him, and he would preach straight to them. Gradually made a few friends there. He was staying in very austere condition, just one little room, a couple meters long, 1 meter wide, maybe something like that. It was just like a little cubby hole they have in offices. There's an office building, no windows or anything. And Prabhupada had to go, I don't know where he went to take a bath, if he went to the YMCA or something. And he would go to Dr. Mishra's house, who had a very nice apartment, and he would cook. And he would also cook for Dr. Mishra. Dr. Mishra spoke later that he was in very bad health at the time, even though he was a yoga teacher and a doctor. And Prabhupada's cooking saved his life, his khichdi. But anyway, that's the point. The soul is why these bodies are all different, right? Everybody knows we all have a different fingerprint. As far as we know, there's never been two same fingerprints, right? I mean, we don't know, there could have been, but nobody knows. And now they have other ways. Even our hairs are different. When the police come into a murder scene or something, they vacuum up everything, and it's mostly hairs and skin. And by looking at the hairs and the microscope and the skin, they can tell. There was an Indian person here, there was a Chinese, there was a black African. They can tell by the dust. And they can identify. Then if they arrest a suspect and they match the hairs, that identifies them. The ear, they take a picture of your ear. Now one time I flew out of Abu Dhabi, and everyone has to stand in line and they look in your eye. And that's even more accurate than fingerprints, voice prints. Everything is completely individual. And so to think that that's only material and the spiritual and the soul is all the same, it doesn't make any sense. If the covering is full of variety, then the origin must also be full of variety. So that our individuality is eternal. And now it's very limited, because we're covered by these bodies and we can't express our individuality so much. In the early days of Hare Krishna, when almost all the devotees were brahmacharis and brahmacharinis, so people thought they're just become like all the same, because they all dress the same. They all have the same haircut. The women all had their hair tied back and part in the middle, and the men all had a shaved head and sika. So they thought they're just all become the same. No individuality, no thinking. Then some psychiatrists, tested devotees and found out they're more individual than other people. The other people, even though they want to think they have a different haircut, because your hairdresser will tell you, oh, you're special, or they have different clothes, but actually they're the same. They're just following. They're just doing the same thing, going to the same movies, same television, same everything, and thinking they're very individual. We all want to be individual, but then because it's frustrating sometimes, they speculate to my mind, it's just become all one. But that desire to be individual, like not anymore, but when I first went to Japan, all the school kids had uniform. So from junior high until they finished high school, they had the same uniform. Each school had a little bit different, and they would wear it. But then they would sell uniforms with different lining. Nobody could see it, but they could think, I'm different. I'm not just like everybody else. That's because the soul is individual. So this is what Krishna is telling Arjuna. We're all individuals, and we all have been forever, and we all will be forever. If anybody's ever had pets, maybe we don't keep pets so much, but dogs, they're very different. Even though there's so many different species of dog or whatever, so many different kinds, but even in the same group, they have different personalities. People from very babies have different personalities. They like different things. So that's because the souls are individual. And the spiritual world, the individuality and the variety is much, much more than here. Here we're very limited. Everybody's probably seen, if you remember, I remember from school, there's a spectrum. We can't see infrared light, we can't see ultraviolet light, and it goes way, way beyond all those. We can see a very narrow range. Same thing in sound, of all the pitches, and we can only hear, very few, and as we get older, we hear less. In my experience, anyway. Certain sounds just don't register, Sometimes somebody tells me their name, and if they have a name with 4 or 5 syllables, I catch maybe half of them. I don't know what they said, because they're different pitch. So but a dog can hear so much beyond what we can hear. What to speak of smelling? The human, range of smell is very limited. A dog is, hundreds of times or thousands of times more, and they can detect in different sense. So they can recognize you by your smell. And they can smell a bad person even. Now you see a lot of people with the service dog. I was talking to one guy, he said, what kind of service does this dog do? He said, an epilepsy dog. So the dog can somehow smell or sense when the seizure is coming on. And they knock the guy down. They're big dogs. And they knock him into a chair, and they just knock him on the floor. And they sit on top of him so they can't hurt themselves. Otherwise they'll start banging all over and fall on the ground. So it's amazing. Humans can't do that. They hardly know until it's too late, until the person already broke his face or something. So the individual, we're all individuals. So this is very important. And there's one supreme individual who is maintaining all the others. That verse from the Upanishad, we find it in the Bhagavad Gita a few times. I remember when I first joined, we'd hear it all the time, this Nityo Nityanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam, Eko Bahunam Yo Vididati Kaman. That there's one supreme eternal that's supporting all the other individual eternals. We're individuals. We were in the past life, we will be in the next life. What kind of body? We don't know. If we're in the spiritual world, there's just more individuality, more varieties. More varieties of flowers, more varieties of scents, more colors. Everything is much more. Mayavadi theory, this is the purport. After liberation, the individual soul, separated by the covering of Maya, or illusion, will merge into the impersonal Brahman and lose its individual existence, is not supported here by Lord Krishna, the supreme authority, nor is the theory that we only think of individuality in the conditioned state supported herein. Krishna clearly says herein that in the future also the individuality of the Lord and others, as is confirmed in the Upanishad, will continue eternally. This statement of Krishna's is authoritative because Krishna cannot be subject to illusion. If individuality were not a fact, Krishna would not have stressed it so much, even for the future, bhavisya. The Mayavadi may argue that the individual spoken by Krishna is not spiritual but material. Even accepting that argument, that the individuality is material, how can one distinguish Krishna's individuality? Krishna affirms his individuality. Interesting word, duality is in there. Indivisible. In the past, and confirms his individuality in the future. He has confirmed his individuality in many ways, and impersonal Brahman has been declared to be subordinate to him. Brahmano hi patishtaham. Right? Where's that one? Chapter 14, right? I am the source of the Brahman. It's subordinate to Krishna. It's an incomplete realization. Krishna has maintained individuality all along. If he is accepted as an ordinary conditioned soul in individual consciousness, then his Bhagavad Gita has no value as authoritative scripture. A common man with all four defects of human frailty is unable to teach that which is worth hearing. The Gita is above such literature. No mundane book compares with the Bhagavad Gita. When one accepts Krishna as an ordinary man, the Gita loses all importance. The Mayavadi argues that the plurality mentioned in this verse is conventional and it refers to the body. But previous to this verse, such a bodily conception is already condemned. Previous verse, Socham and Visocham Tvam, Pragyavadams Chabasase, Gatasama Gatasums Cha, Nanu Sochati. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for that which is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise, they meant living neither for the living nor the dead, because they know the soul is living forever. Therefore, individuality is maintained on spiritual grounds and is thus confirmed by the great acharyas like Sri Ramanuja and others. It is clearly mentioned in many places in the Gita that this spiritual individuality is understood by those who are devotees of the Lord, those who are envious of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead have no bona fide access to the great literature. The non-devotee's approach to the teachings of the Gita is something like that of a bee licking on a bottle of honey. One cannot have a taste of honey unless one opens the bottle. Similarly, mysticism of the Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees, and no one else can taste it, as it is stated in the 4th canto chapter of the book. Nor can the Gita be touched by persons who envy the very existence of the Lord. Therefore, Mayavad explanation of the Gita is the most misleading presentation of the whole truth. Lord Chaitanya has forbidden us to read commentations made by the Mayavadis and warns that one who takes to such a understanding of the Mayavad philosophy loses all power to understand the real mystery of the Gita. If individuality refers to the empirical universe, then there is no need of teaching by the Lord. The plurality of the individual soul and of the Lord is an eternal fact, as is confirmed in the Vedas, as above mentioned. So what happens is we get frustrated with the varieties in all the different kinds of people, or all the different choices we have to make. They have a term now, decision fatigue. We have to make so many decisions. Most of them are not very important, but we think they are. Which gas should I buy? Which phone should I get? Which where should I look here? What should I do? What book should I read? On and on and on. Which people should I like? Which one? Nobody likes me because they don't like my skin color, they don't like my language, or they don't like my religion. So better it's all one. The Buddhist, it's called Shunyavadi, is all nothing. Everything came from nothing, really, and all this variety is imaginary, and then when you become realized, again you become nothing. You don't exist anymore, and then there'll be no more problems. It's existence, it's variety that causes all the trouble. But variety, Prabhupada says, is the mother of enjoyment. The spice of life, I think they said, right? The variety, that's an American saying. Variety is the spice of life. It's like, you all know how to spice food, so it makes it tasty, right? Proper spicing. But because a lot of people improperly spice, then many people think spice is bad. Oh, it's horrible, because somebody puts only chili. Sudra cooks only chili. It's the cheapest, And then, or garlic, onions. And then you can't taste the food anyway. And then if you take that away, you can't taste, they have no taste buds. So they think spice is no good. Spice is good when it's done right. It's medicine, aiding digestion. It's enhancing your pleasure. But variety is, we want variety. Therefore, there's so many things to choose from in the world. But then it gets, you don't know what to choose. But everybody makes their decision, and somebody I saw this morning, some devotees came and they were covered with tattoo. Like, it must be their whole body, everything that's showed. I was thinking maybe that, because you think, why do people want all this tattoo? And they want a different body, I guess. They're not satisfied with their body, so they're trying to change it. Some people go and work out, try to change it, You dye your hair, get a different haircut every week, It becomes a big business, actually, to convince people you have to change. You need something different. Fashion. We passed it shopping, Lord and Taylor or something, just at the Fashion Plaza, Fashion. Fashion is passion. Definitely the mode of passion. You have to change, you have to get something different, you have to keep up, newest fashion, driving people crazy, so they think better, all one. Externally, that's good, but internally, we're all individuals, so we're all different. And we all have an individual relationship with Krishna that no one else has. This is really inconceivable, but Krishna has so much unlimited varieties of relationships and qualities that for each living entity there's one special quality that only that living entity can enjoy. But then by associating with others, we can hear how others are relishing Krishna's association through service, through chanting, through reading, and we can learn more about Krishna. The more devotees we associate with, the more we hear from, the more we hear, we preach and see people beginning to chant Hare Krishna and how they feel and how they're changing, and we learn more about Krishna. The more we read the Bhagavad Gita again and again, Krishna is revealing himself more and more. But people can't understand that until they try it. We try to teach people, Like when we sell Bhagavad Gita for the paperback, we're asking like $5. It's a book you can read before it falls apart. You can read hundreds of times, and it'll be fresh every time. But no, I don't have money. But then they go right into Starbucks and spend $6 every day. Because all it does, the beer, the Starbucks, the cigarettes, they just want to make more. They want more. It's not going to satisfy you. You can't smoke the same cigarette or drink the same beer again. You got to buy another one. But that's how Maya is so powerful. So devotees are protected, by the holy name, right? So it's not difficult for devotees. When some karmis hear about the four regulative principles, they just think, my God, that's torture. How can you live? Better to be in the prison, But for devotees, it's just, you don't think about it because it's so troublesome to break the regulative principles. There's always a bad reaction, as a result of trying to enjoy the material senses. It's costly, it's unhealthy. There's so many things, but they don't realize until they associate with devotees, until they hear the holy name. So like he was announcing tomorrow, this is a Radhastami. You're all familiar with that, I think. Daiviyesha gunamayi mamamaya darachaya mamivaye prapajante. This Daiviyesha, and taking shelter of that's Radharani, the Bhagavad Gita is talking about. The spiritual energy, the devotional energy, and we want to be under Radharani. And we chant Krishna because Radharani, she only wants to hear Krishna's name. She doesn't want to hear her name, doesn't want to hear anything except Krishna. She doesn't want to see anything except Krishna. She didn't even open her eyes until Krishna was in front of her as a baby. She didn't talk, she seemed to be deaf. But as soon as Krishna looked at her, she opened her eyes, started talking, everything. Actually, Balaram same. Balaram was a little bit dull, they thought. And then when Krishna came, he came to life. So we're very, very fortunate that we've been given this mercy by Lord Chaitanya. Otherwise, it's not easy, the yoga practices. I was reading the other day, Yudhishthira, when he realized that Krishna had left, and he went through this yoga process of merging all the elements into this and the mind into that. It's a long process. I was thinking, well, we're really lucky, we don't have to do that because we could never do it. It requires like lifetime of practice. But if we just chant Hare Krishna, Lord Chaitanya will take care of everything. Prabhupada will take care of everything. So please carry on with this chanting and purifying this place. So gradually, whoever comes here will get some benefit unknowingly. The vibration of the holy name stays in the building. Wherever devotees are chanting regularly, that place, people feel it when they walk by, and or people start wondering, like places where we chant, like Union Square Park or something. When we're not there, people are thinking, "Where's the Hare Krishna?" When we're there, they may just walk by and not even pay attention. But when we're not there, they think, "Where are they?" If we're not there for a few days, they "Where have you been?" And then you say, "Well, we're here." "Oh, okay," and they go on. But they think of Krishna. They remember Krishna. We want to remember Krishna. And by association of devotees, and by hearing this Bhagavad Gita, somebody want to do a little exercise, go through that purport and count how many times that word individuality is there, right? So many times. I was bewildered. Every sentence for that one section. Prabhupada is really stressing it. So you can imagine how that Dr. Mishra felt, when Prabhupada. Because the lecture, if you look it up, Prabhupada was so heavy about it, So he was, counteracting all of Dr. Mishra's teachings to his followers. So he said, "Swamiji, better you don't need to speak. But please sing, because all his followers like Prabhupada's kirtan." So that would attract more people. But anyway, he got benefit. He gave Prabhupada facility to get started. So he met people there who gradually helped him later on. I think somebody helped him. One of those guys is who had helped him do the Hare Krishna album that he did, which was very popular, and many things. So individuality, and encourage everybody's individuality. It's a concern of many educators and both in ISKCON and out, that sometimes adults discourage the individuality of children. They're very creative, and if you let them do their creative things, it may make a mess sometimes, but they develop, and if you keep telling them no, you be like everybody else, you should be like this one, it's discouraging, and then they just end up like, okay, I won't do anything, So we want to encourage, and devotees also, all devotees, individuality. We all want to chant the same mantra, we read the same books, but otherwise, how we understand Krishna, that's individual, because Krishna is individual, we're individuals. Everyone has their own rasas, their own realizations, and we want to encourage the whole world to take this up. You don't have to, become a zombie or something, Like people think like that. Oh, you just become a robot, But no, devotees are more individual. But externally, we all wear the same jewelry and the same makeup, So people think, yeah, right. That's not really individuality, but just different dress. And actually, all the different dresses are the same. I travel a lot, and when we do Harinam, it's usually in shopping areas, and it's just amazing how many fashion designer shops there are, and everything's the same all over the world. But somebody's name is, this is supposed to be better and more, I was in front of one shop in London, and they had dresses there at 1,300 pounds. That's like $2,500 at the time. And it just, then I walked home on the back street and there was a Salvation Army or Goodwill and everything was 5 pounds. I looked in there, it looked the same to me. Nobody would know the difference if you had the $10,000 dress or the $5 one, except you. So if you feel like I'm poor, I don't, then people will look at you. But if you feel like, but we just want to please Krishna. So Krishna likes the tilak, he likes Tulsi Mala, and the individuality is much deeper than the external show, So maintain your individuality, don't be ashamed, and encourage others to serve Krishna in whatever way they want. All right? So we'll take time for some comment or question. Shri Radha Rani ki jai. Yeah. Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Thank you so much for a wonderful session. So anybody has a question? Mataji has a question?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavad Pranam, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you so much for the wonderful class, Maharaj. So Maharaj, on the screen, right now it says the plurality of individual soul and the Lord is an eternal fact. So what does the plurality of the individual soul mean?
The what?
The plurality of individual soul, what does that mean?
The individuality?
Plurality.
Plurality?
Yes.
Must mean the varieties. I didn't note that. Where is it in the purpose?
Last line.
The last line. This, if individuality refers to the empirical universe, then there is no need of teaching by the Lord. The plurality of the individual soul and of the Lord is an eternal fact and is confirmed by the Vedas as mentioned above. Plurality is a noun. Wide variety. So that's what the whole thing was about. The wide varieties of Krishna and the varieties of the individual soul. That's the noun. The dictionaries are very important. And here we have just push a button and pops up. If you listen to Vaisheshika Prabhu, he's very often saying, look that up in the dictionary. And it's very important. There's another group that is not always respected, but they're very intelligent. They have classes in using a dictionary. And people are very happy. They were never taught, So when we're reading and we don't know a word, we usually just skip it. And then you won't understand the whole page because of one word, or misunderstanding a word. And they say even many people, they hardly know the meaning of the and and. They haven't studied. They just cruise their way through school. So when we don't understand a word, the first thing is to check what does the dictionary say, because our idea, the plural means many also. You make something plural by adding an S. It's more of the same thing. But the meaning in this dictionary is just wide variety. That's when it's a noun. So anyway, that's what it means. Unlimited variety. The spiritual world is just more variety. it's very interesting, actually, how when this material world has so much variety. Of course, we are programmed, so it's a perverted reflection. So in a bad reflection, you see kind of, the variety of the original thing, but not fully, right? If you have a mirror that's all foggy, you can kind of see how you look, or if your teeth look straight, but not really very good. If you have a dirty mirror or an old one where the backing is worn off. I don't know if you've ever been in the carnival we used to go, and they have a hall of mirrors. So they have these mirrors that make you look like you're this wide and 8 feet tall, and mirrors that make you look like you're a round ball, and all these different mirrors that make it look like you're standing upside down, and you get really confused. So you're getting a perverted reflection. But if the reflection has so much variety, then the real thing must have much more variety. It doesn't make sense, and the varieties give us great pleasure, many colors. Everyone likes to go in what is it here, the Walmart, or there's even bigger ones that have everything in there, right? Amazon, right? So many choices to make. It's ecstatic. But then you can't decide what to take. And then whatever you get, you think, well, maybe I should have got the other one. So that's why we get frustrated. Better there's only one choice. But nobody would like that. So, same thing with people. If you live in New York City, of course, you get very used to varieties of people, varieties of haircuts, varieties of everything, skin, language, everything there is in maximum. So, and it's interesting. But for some people who have lived in a place where it's more monogamous, they come to New York City, they get scared, because they've heard, these kind of people are like this, these people are violent, these people are thieves, but then after a while you start to enjoy. And tourists come just because there's so much variety, so many ethnic groups and everything, right? That's why they say people like to go to Queens or something. It's got the most different ethnic groups anywhere in the world or something. In the spiritual world, all the variety is pleasurable. There's no flowers with thorns, and there's no mosquitoes. They asked Prabhupada if there are mosquitoes. He said, but they don't bite. Everything is there, but they're nice. All right, any other? He was first.
Kavichandra Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful class. Maharaj, can you explain the difference of consciousness from our perspective and Mayavad perspective? Because I'm aware that the Mayavadis, when they think of consciousness, they give it a different meaning from us. Could you explain that difference?
Well, it's very hard to explain the Mayavadi concept of anything, because it doesn't make any sense. At least the Buddhists, who are Shunyavadis, one of the types of Mayavadi, they think that the consciousness is a product of the combination of the material elements. And it's just like an electrical charge, like if you put certain acids together or something, you make a battery and you get electricity. So they think it's something like that when the elements come together, they don't know how they come together, and it produces consciousness. So you can feel things and be aware of things. Our idea of consciousness is ultimately to be aware of Krishna. And it's life, the original Consciousness is what makes the elements come together, right? Consciousness is what leaves the body dead. That's the soul. The soul is the conscious, has consciousness. Consciousness means awareness. So I'm not sure how I just know the Buddhist and modern science is very similar, modern physics, to the Buddhist idea. That somehow the elements come together by chance or whatever, and that produces life. And at some point, they fall apart. They've never been able to duplicate that. Prabhupada tells how Swarup Damodar Maharaj was at some scientific, and quite a prominent scientist was saying how the consciousness is like that. Life comes from combination of these elements. And so he asked him, "My dear sir, if I can give you all these elements, can you produce life?" And he said, "Well, I don't know, I don't think." So then everybody laughed, and nobody came to his talks after that. Prabhupada was very proud of that. So they get caught, they can't really do it. They can't show any example, but you can show so many examples of life coming from life. A living body can produce another living body, but a dead body might look like it produces worms, but the worms are there already, but they come out, when the body's dead, because they can't live on it anymore. They need a living body to live off of. So that's the best I can do. Because to try to explain Mayavadi, it's it can't be explained because there's no conclusion. No matter what you show that they're wrong, they say, "Well, I didn't really mean that. We really meant this, and you didn't understand what I said." And I remember Vaisheshika, the first time he came to Japan, he was somewhere and he met some Buddhist, so-called Buddhist, and the guy was saying, "Everything is nothing," I think. So he defeated that. And he said, "Well, no, but actually that's not what I said. I said everything is nothing, or nothing is everything." He said, just twisted the two words around, la-di-da, because they don't have a conclusion. They just want to blah, 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 Everything is nothing, nothing is everything. We say Krishna is everything, but everything is not Krishna. They'll say everything is Krishna. Whatever you want is Krishna. No. That help you? You can understand Krishna's idea of consciousness by reading the Bhagavad Gita. Or I think the dictionary, kind of comes pretty close also to what we say. Consciousness, the state of being awake and aware of one's surroundings. But I don't think the Mayavadis think of it like that. They think you can feel. The Buddhists will say, if I poke you here, you feel something. So the consciousness comes from the body. That's their idea. Everything is connected within the body, that's for sure. But you can also give some anesthetic and then you can't feel the pain. Consciousness is covered over time being. Okay, good question. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Mataji? She had a question first. You changed? Wasn't it you?
I asked Maharaj.
Oh.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, nowadays this is so popular, like a D&I, like a diversity and inclusion, and then the pride. So, what do you think, Maharaj? These things are more towards the promoting individuality, or they are like otherwise they are like promoting your same. There is no
Promoting what?
that we are all same. We don't have any separate entities.
Well, that's another thing. That we're the same, eternal, blissful, knowledgeable. We're all eternal parts of Krishna. But there's many varieties of sameness. So individuality we have to recognize. This is what Krishna is saying in this verse, and Prabhupada is hammering on the purport. But we can't say, everyone is exactly the same, because everyone has different. It's like Prabhupada does a few conversations and liberated women, and they're concerned, and Prabhupada said women should be subordinate, and are you saying women are inferior? Prabhupada said not inferior, but different. Bodies are different. Everybody knows that, I hope, but they're trying to say it's not. Now in New York City, I went in one big fancy shopping mall there. It's across from the Harinam spot. And the public restroom, it has the old sign, men and women, 2 different doors. But then below that it says, this is a gender neutral, and anyone is welcome to come in here depending on whatever you think your gender is, We're gender neutral now. We don't discriminate. But there are differences, The man doesn't get pregnant. The women are trying to say that, but but even amongst men, amongst women, some are much stronger, some are smarter, some are beautiful, some are ugly. But what I think is beautiful, you may think is not beautiful. It's all just a sense perception. So we have to, the soul, spiritually, qualitatively, everyone is the same, and everyone has the same rights to serve Krishna. And everyone has a right to serve according to their own abilities and capacities. Even now, in the university, anybody can study whatever they want if they can pass the test, right? They don't discriminate. They used to discriminate so much between men and women, but they're changing. Like I read that instrument, the trombone, takes a really strong wind, So they were convinced a woman can't do it. You can't blow hard enough, So if a woman was trying out for the orchestra, they'd just throw her out, right without. So then they started making where the conductor couldn't see who was playing. So one woman won. She was the best. And when they showed the guy, he was shocked, because they had this conviction that women can't do that. So, and that men can't. But some things, of course, the women can't do that men can do, and men can do things that women can do things that men can't do. So we have different, but we're all individuals, and we have to stress that. But we all chant the same mantras, we all read the same books. We all fall in line with the basic activities. But anyone can cook for Krishna, but you can cook according to your own taste. And as long as it's a mode of goodness, Krishna will like it. That help? Yeah. We don't need to stress too much on either one actually, but we just encourage everyone just chant Hare Krishna and try to serve Krishna to the best of your ability. And as far as preaching goes, the more different varieties of preaching devotees come up with, the more people we're going to attract. Because there's so many different kinds of people. Alright?
Yes, Maharaj. So that means what?
You have to put the microphone in front of your mouth.
Yeah.
One thing, you have a mask which filters out half of it, and then you put the microphone down here. So I just hear.
So, Maharaj, so that means whatever they are promoting, that thing is like against our Vedic culture, the diversity, inclusion, all those things. Is it considered against or not in the?
I can't hear you very clearly.
So,
Speak. Jaipataka Maharaj told me a few years ago, he said, my teacher told me that I have to enunciate very carefully. We all have to do that. Because if you're speaking Telugu, English, or whatever, I don't. Maybe one of your same language people can catch it. And my hearing is not that good. So
okay, Maharaj, maybe afterwards.
just
I can
speak carefully,
I can speak to you afterwards.
Okay. You talk too fast or
Yes.
something. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so
I
much,
think
Maharaj. Yeah.
time is out. 7:50.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.